Hello, Deborah. Are you there? Your mic is muted, Deborah. If you could unmute your mic.
I'm not speaking. I just wanted to make sure our panelists were in the room.
Okay, great. I'm online here. I'll be monitoring as well.
Okay.
I will turn my camera off, but call out to me if anything comes up. I'll also be
I'm
watching.
just gonna. Whoops! It's Gwen. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Hi, Lori. Can you down below? Can you unmute? On your screen at the very bottom. Hi, Alex. So down in the bottom of your screen, there should be a camera and a microphone, and it's not working for you, Lori? Yeah, I can't hear either one of you, and you both show as being muted. Hey, Rick.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi. Besides just telling them to show more information, can you help me to get them to unmute?
I will. It's probably a permissions thing in their computer. So I will let me. Are you in the Chrome browser? Are you using the Chrome browser or the Firefox browser? Let me do this. I'm going to message them my contact.
Okay. Alex, did it ask you to do a pre-check? An audio and video pre-check? Down at the bottom, all the way to the, there's that little wheel. If you click on that and you did the pre-check,
Is it working?
I see Alex.
I
see Lori, but Alex is trying to get in, and here's Anilu.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Well, the good news is I think you can hear me now.
I can hear you now.
Okay, so now I just need to get the video going. This is ridiculous.
But I still can't hear Lori.
Okay, fine.
Can you hear me, Deborah?
Yes.
I can hear you, Anilu.
So, Lori, this is what I did. I went into settings. Okay, at the bottom of our little square screen, go into settings and run a test. And it's going to take you through checking your microphone, checking your video, checking your microphone, and then it says okay, and it takes about 45 to 60 seconds, and that seemed to reconnect, rework it. So, hi Anilu, how are you?
I'm good. A little bit of technology scares me.
You know, it's so funny.
Like the most stressful thing.
We've been planning. I mean, these guys are so awesome in terms of planning, and it's just, you know, the problem is, you know, we all have human error. And I have so many emails from the WBC, like trying to find the right email, and I flagged all of them. It's just I flagged so many that. Anyway,
we made it.
I've logged anyway. So sorry about that, but these
no, it's what happens now.
Yeah, it's all good, and thank you all for leading this panel, and you will hear nothing more from me.
Okay. Well, we just have to get Lori going here. Otherwise, it's you and me. Anilu. We can talk. I'm sure we can talk for half an hour.
I don't think that has ever been a problem, Alex.
Exactly. I'm just going to fix that. So I think what I just told Lori to do fixed mine, and we're scheduled to go at 1:35, so we have 6 minutes. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You've got time yet.
Turn my phone off here. Oh dear. Is there someone tech that can call Lori directly?
Yeah, there was Rick. Let me bounce out of here and get back into the green room and see who I can find in there as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Lori, I hit the microphone. Oh, she's gone. All right, she's gonna try again.
Mm-hmm.
Are you in the office?
No, I'm home. I'm home today.
Yeah. Did you guys delay going back?
The full return. So it's open. People are going. We're still in our pilot. So people are going voluntarily.
Yeah. I was going to try to come spend an extra couple days in San Francisco, but I've got to go back for something. So I was going to drop you a note, see if we could have a coffee, but that'll have to be my next trip.
Next trip.
Yeah. Would you rather introduce yourself? We were talking about introduce. Do you want me to do a quick introduction? Which would you prefer?
I'm happy either way. Happy to, if you prefer for us to say kind of our names and role and whatever, happy, like either way works.
Okay. Well, if it's you and me, I'll definitely I'll let you do your intro.
All right.
Hi, Alex. I've been trying to message Lori to have her call me. Do you have her number?
I don't have her number, but I have her email address.
But I was going to give her the exact same advice that you did. You did exactly what I would have told you to do.
Yeah.
With the settings.
She is. I only have. Her assistant is.
I'll check with the WBC team, see if they have
Here,
a number.
Just email her directly.
I've got it.
It's Lori, LORI _ HEINEL at ssga.com. For some reason, I can't write anything in the chat right now, but so it's Lori, LORI _ HEINEL at ssga.com. And I gave her the same advice. I just told her to go into settings and rerun the test.
Yep, that's exactly it. It's likely there's an AV conflict with her browser that's preventing her mic from coming on. So
Yeah.
I'll try reaching out to her offline and see if I can get her online. What I would suggest is as soon as you can, it looks like we're about ready to get started in about a minute here. Just go ahead and start your breakout, and we'll do our best to get Lori online with you.
Okay.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
And Anilu, you saw we have about a half an hour.
Okay.
Okay.
How's it been going? I tried to log earlier, but then I got called into a meeting.
It's been really, I mean, it's an amazing group of presenters.
Yeah.
Most of it I've had to step out a few, but we're well north of 2,000 people, and the engagement has been great in terms of the leadership. If you saw the CEOs getting, I mean, they and their staff have been really, really engaged, and I think it's building a ton of momentum. So we should just catch up later on that because we're doing the planning for the next summit.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be more. I'm gonna, we can talk about it, but we're gonna be on soon. So let's just catch up on that because there's some strategy.
Yeah, that's great. It's a great lineup.
Yeah. And I guess everybody knows the technology issues with trying to do all this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
There's always something on every event that I've done, honestly.
Oh, there's Lori.
Still looking muted.
Lori, can you hear me? Great. I'm going to give you my cell number if you could call me, and I will talk you through. It's 818-674-1399.
And Rick, can you let us know when we're gonna go live?
You are live now. There are people in the room, so you can go ahead and get started.
All right, super. Well, we're right about start time now.
Hi, Lori.
And in our quest to be virtual over the last over a year, we've all encountered technology issues, and I'm afraid we're having a little bit of that with our panel today. But we're going to rectify that shortly. I'm thrilled to be here today with our panelists, and I'm hoping Lori's going to be able to join us for a minute, but at least I can do a little bit of an introductory comment because we do only have a half an hour. to tackle what is a really important dynamic in terms of driving change and using capital as a means to drive change. Just as a bit of introduction, my name is Alex Jung. I'm one of the founding board members of the WBC. I also happen to be a longtime investor, portfolio manager, partner in the alternative asset management industry. Most recently, a partner at Oak Hill Advisors, which is a over $50 billion private credit and alternative credit and private equity firm. I recently established my own firm to do work around a lot of the subjects we're going to talk about today, both direct investing and working with a lot of emerging, talented, diverse managers, and providing an advisory network to them in addition to investing. Today, we're going to talk about a couple different topics, but I'm thrilled to have representation from large-scale capital allocators to talk about women in capital and finance. The initiative, the WBC initiative around this is about not only DE&I and driving diversity as an industry, as a financial services and asset management industry, but also how this industry can be actually a dominant force in creating change across the capital chain, from diversity in boards, diversity in companies' management, diversity through organizations, and then driving more capital universally across our economy with a universal goal of driving growth and driving profitability for portfolio companies, driving job growth, and all of the things that we believe that is part of. And so the Women in Capital Initiative achieves or really targets two different things: the industry best practices around DE&I, and then secondly, how we can create this multiplier impact about, as capital, creating accountability to our portfolio companies, to public companies, to private companies, and really think about how diversity and capital allocation can be a multiplier of impact and change. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce two of my panelists. Anilu, we'll start with you. Anilu Vazquez-Ubarri, who's a partner at TPG and the CHRO, who's living these dynamics every day. Anilu, great to have you here. Lori Heinel is also joining us. We're just fixing some of her audio issues. So Lori, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Lori, who is Executive Vice President at State Street and also a Global Chief Investment Officer at State Street. There's two different facets of this conversation that I think you guys will both have unique insight into. One is how you're thinking about it in terms of your own businesses and being the best performing businesses as in asset management. And then the second is how you are using your position as investors to create accountability and create change as you look at your portfolio companies, as you look at your public company positions. So I kind of want to hit two different subjects on what we're going to talk about today. I think what we were going to start with when Lori comes back to us is going to talk about the shareholder activism, but maybe we'll switch gears and say, Anilu, why don't you talk a little bit about the TPG perspective and your perspective as being the best performing in your industry, and how you're thinking about creating accountability and change within your own firm as a representative of the private equity industry.
Yeah, well, thank you, Alex. And it's very awesome to be a panelist in such a great roster of people that you have. So I hope everyone is enjoying the conversation. And when it comes to how we have thought about it at TPG, it's first of all from a place of a lot of self-reflection, quite frankly, that as much as we believe in it and believe that it will make us a stronger company to be more diverse, the reality is that we have a lot of work to do. And so we're coming from behind. And when you start with that reality, the urgency is very heavy, but also you can't boil the ocean. So I think that we have tried to be strategic and go to places where we think we can make an impact, and have influence. So you're right to say we think about it. I think about it. There are 3 segments to how we think about it, and they all work together. It's what we do internally, what we do with our portfolio, and quite frankly, as part of our investment process. And then importantly and increasingly, what we can do for the industry at large. And all of those things, as I said, they relate to each other. But it has to start with us holding the mirror to ourselves before we can ask our portfolio companies with credibility to focus on this and also the industry. So we've been in that journey, and we can talk more about the examples in each of those. And then the last thing I would say is, and this relates to what Lori hopefully can talk to us about on the shareholder side. Our version of that is our investors, our LPs. And I am very welcoming of the increased dialogue that has been happening over the last couple of years from their side, also to make sure that we're not only thinking about it, but actually making progress.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. It is definitely multifaceted. As we all know, as leaders, you have to create accountability in your own organization. It's great to have these reaching goals and self-reflect where you are and where you want to get to. But how are you, that's a real cultural dynamic for people who every day thought about all I need to do is get a great deal, to be thinking about, how should my team look? How should I be compensating people? So how have you gone from that kind of self-reflective process to saying, okay, this is what we're going to do so that people are paying attention, so that we can get to where we are, knowing that we may not be exactly where not where we want to be today?
Yeah. So I think there are a couple of examples that I can give you. All of them have a few things in common, which is that they're authentic to how we work. So you don't want to do things that are too outside of your norm, because I don't think that they're going to take grasp if you do. So I think it has to be relevant to how you conduct your business. And the other thing that never fails is, if it matters to the top of the house, people get with the program fairly easy. And we've been very fortunate that there's no distance between, our CEO, Jung and our founder, Jim Coulter, on how serious this is for them. And so I don't think anyone at the firm is confused either. But I would say, we have incorporated on the business side, our performance reviews include DEI, both in a couple of aspects. One is how people manage their team. So people get measured if they're managers. There's a manager effectiveness evaluation that contains a lot of behaviors and competence having to do with whether you do the right things, not only to increase diversity, but to have a diverse environment. And we look at that score very, very carefully. And so if you're someone who scores very well on something else, but that's a bad score, you for sure are going to have a conversation. More specifically in terms of numbers, for our deal professionals, given that we have a goal to diversify the boards of our portfolio companies, that information is part of their performance reviews and compensation decisions. So if they have done a good job, have they done a good job on their boards to meet the goals that we have? Have they also referred other diverse board members? Are they helping other people? So for the portfolio, that data makes it to people's performance reviews. And also we have started to include that in our partner process, election process, that as well as other recruitment and talent management measures. And then I would say, lastly, the other one, not everything needs to be a stick, recognition. So we give opportunities to people that have done a great job, particularly if we haven't asked them to do it. They just have taken the proactive approach. And that also works really well. It's from who gets to speak on panels to who gets to go to a certain meeting, who might get a developmental opportunity, and it all translates into business. So there are different ways that we do it, but we have been doing it very consistently. And then the last thing I would say is we committed about a year and a half ago to show our D&I stats to the whole firm on a regular basis. And so we discuss them with the co-managing partners on a quarterly basis. We discuss them in our partner group at least twice a year, and the whole firm gets an update once a year.
Yeah, that's those are a lot of different. You hit a lot of different things we were going to talk about today, but accountability is one of the themes, both accountability internally and externally. And I know Lori continues to have technology issues, but she's going to be able to respond in the chat. And I know Lori, State Street, you had talked during one of our prep calls about this idea of accountability around compensation internally. So I know State Street has a focus on that as well. But one of the topics I really wanted you to comment on while we have you live on screen here is talking about that accountability and leadership in DE&I across your portfolio companies too, and your board and your public companies. And State Street's obviously been a leader in driving change in boards, and it's been remarkable seeing what State Street okay, there you go. What State Street and BlackRock have done in terms of help drive the change in numbers. And we're seeing the change in numbers. Hopefully people have been part of the board sessions to see that. What I'm wondering is now everybody's moving to climate. I mean, is DE&I getting lost? I mean, when will somebody like a State Street look and say, okay, where else do we want to see more accountability across the organization from a diversity standpoint? So that idea of multiplier of impact. And Lori might have to type that in. So while we're going, Lori, maybe you can kind of comment on a couple things in the chat and we can keep the discussion going. But the things that I wanted to think about is DE&I getting lost from an institutional investor perspective, and the LPs that are both feeding into and investing in TPG with Anilu, as well as giving their capital to State Street. Are we getting to a place where we've moved directly from diversity at boards and going to climate, or are we and kind of DE&I is getting lower on the totem pole in terms of that stick and carrot, I would say, and that no vote that has been so powerful in the large institutional space. And so Lori, if Lori can't speak, Lori, perhaps you can handle that in the chat, because everybody who's in the breakout, everybody's in the breakout can do that. And then, maybe on that topic, Anilu, you can comment on what you see your LPs. I mean, LPs are saying they want to see diversity in your investment team, but you said your numbers aren't where you want to be. We know that only 3.5% of institutional assets under management are run by women. So are they saying no? Or is this just kind of speak when the LPs come to demand that kind of information from you?
I don't think it's just speak. I think that, and by the way, we don't take it that way. So again, I think that part of this is them asking the question and how you take it. I think that I actually don't feel that is an either or on climate and diversity. I think that it is good to start to tie these things together, because it's a little bit of who do you want to be when you grow up for organizations. And so I don't think that is a zero-sum game. I think that what we have been focused with our LPs is that while our numbers may not be in every area, because in some areas, actually, I think we have made very good progress, but it is about whether you're moving forward. And so I think that one of the things that I think is most salient for me in the conversations with the LPs is not for them to only have a conversation with us in the moment of a particular investment, raising a particular fund, but having more regular touch points, so that if we told them last year that we were rolling out X initiative because we thought that would result in more people of color and women in senior roles, that they can come to me a year later and say, did you do it? And did it pan out? And what's the progress? So I think that that's the biggest change that I have noticed. And certainly what I have encouraged LPs when they ask, what would be most useful, I think that that's the most important part of the accountability equation. And that's why I think the data is important. It's not the only thing that matters, because it's one thing to have diversity in your organizations, in our industry. It's at what levels of the organization and what's the experience that diverse people are having once they join the organization. And so we are very focused on that piece as well at TPG.
And do you see the LPs actually making decisions based on that transparency? I mean, transparency is really important, but do you actually see LPs, making an active, vote with your dollars?
Yeah. Look, again, I don't know how they make their final decision, right? Like, I would love to peek into the final board approval, but I can tell you that there are definitely a number of LPs that have made it clear that producing the information that they're asking for is an essential part. And so you only need to read between the lines. Now, look, it's like everything, right? I think that there's a educational period and a warning period. I think that it's fair for organizations to get. But again, I think highly motivated, serious organizations are not going to wait to find out if the LPs meant it or not. Again, they might not be making the progress. And there might be different reasons for that. But I do think it has changed the attitude on the commitment and the urgency side for private equity.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I have definitely seen the same. And, one of the things we talked about is the capital chain, that having diversity at all parts of capital allocation decisions is an important piece. You're one piece, obviously, the pension, the insurance that allocate their capital every day, those seats need to have change as well. And then from you guys, how you invest and how you look at your portfolio company and say, hey, this portfolio company, there's no diversity or, in that portfolio company, and we think that can drive better performance as investors. Yeah. How has that process been in terms of driving accountability to your portfolio companies? Obviously, you're investing in some of the largest private and some public companies, and are you able to drive that change as a lead investor?
Yeah, we are giving it a try, Alex. So we extended what we thought became a very successful effort on the board diversity side to management teams and to understanding the diversity of our portfolio companies. So we have been working with our companies over the last, almost a year in collecting that data, understanding the data, and from there, hopefully develop a good rhythm. We have some organizations in our portfolio that are very capable. They have very sophisticated HR functions, management teams that are focused on this. We have some earlier stage companies that want to be better. What I can tell you, one of the things that we've noticed is that the conversation of diversity, and even in terms of hiring a CHRO, for example, are starting earlier and earlier. There were definitely companies that probably wouldn't have thought about that role as one of the first ones to them to focus. And I believe that in great part it's related to the focus on diversity that they are prioritizing and coming to us for help in that regard. So we have moved to that space. And that's why I said, in order for us to do that with credibility, we need to do better internally too. And then I would say the other area of activity in the portfolio is related to something you and I have talked about, is what can we do with regard to the industry more broadly in terms of capital allocation? We're not in venture investing, but we have TPG Next, which is our effort to invest in diverse managers that are trying to start their own funds. And we have 3 investments. 2 of them are diverse managers in ventures. So again, I think tackling every part of the capital allocation chain, as you said, is important. And we might need to use different tactics for different parts, but we believe that we have to play a role in all of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, one of the reasons you and I started talking was that leadership that TPG has had, at least from a private equity perspective, to think about that full chain, and one firm can't change it. And that's kind of the spirit of, that is the core spirit of the Women's Business Collaborative. So when it comes to really thinking about how we as an industry, and I'll use the overall asset management industry as an example, as we as an industry can do things and learn these best practices. You know, how do you think the industries are doing? What do you think is missing in terms of the approach of the industry? And are you, you know, you're collaborating with us certainly, and doing, you know, this panel is one way to share some really great best practices for smaller firms or other firms that are peers in your industry. But as you look at it, you know, what is the missing piece? And is there a better way for the industry to work together on this and accelerate the change?
Yeah, I mean, I think that forums like this are very important. And I think that not only because of the sharing, but because you get to see who else may be struggling with the same things or at the same stage that you are. I think having that network and being able to call, you know, on a confidential basis and really have a very candid conversation in this industry is very necessary. The reality is that no one's winning when it comes to this. So there's plenty of opportunity to be collaborative before this becomes, you know, a proprietary issue that would result in your competitive edge being diminished. Yeah. So I take the approach that I share freely, and I've been the beneficiary of others sharing what they've done. And I think the other thing is there's a tension between not boiling the ocean, as I said, but at the same time, you have to try different things at the same time. It is not the case when it comes to tackling diversity, equity, and inclusion that you can afford to wait until you completely fix it with women to then start talking about race and ethnicity and LGBTQ and disability. So I think people need to sit around the table and agree on the areas that they're going to care about and focus. And you might move at different paces in each of those categories, but I think it's better if you have an all-inclusive message as opposed to just focusing on one aspect of diversity. And then lastly, I mentioned it's a combination of data in saying what you mean and meaning what you say. If people think in your organization that this is actually just for show, the ones that really care are going to leave you, and the ones that are comfortable will never do anything out of their comfort zone.
Yeah. No, I think it's a really well put point. And I know, Lori, you have comments on that. Please put those in the chat for us because everybody can see that as well. And, you know, this isn't just about women. This is about DE&I creating better performance. At the end of the day, we are financial firms, we are asset management, and our goal is to drive better performance. And so our discussion and what I, you know, appreciate from talking with, you know, State Street and with TPG particularly is around, this is about driving better performance. It happens to also be the right thing to do, but that is all part of it. Yeah. And you know, one of our WBC and, you know, our WBC initiatives really have that diversity across everything we do. You know, one last, I think, you know, we only have a few more minutes. I think, you know, important to show that this is a process. And as someone just put in the chat, there's no finish line because we can always do better. But I think if there's, you know, a piece of advice, you know, I talk about hand-to-hand combat with my new firm is like, unless you're doing hand-to-hand combat, you're not going to see change. And sometimes it's just going person by person, portfolio manager by portfolio manager, and pulling them up for great performance. What do you think that one thing is from both of your perspectives? And hopefully Lori can put that in the chat.
I think it picks up on your last point about it is about performance. And so it is having conviction in that, so that when people try to shake you up a little bit on whether this is what you should be focusing on, I will leave you with the fact that the number one comment from our CEOs in our portfolio companies that have been part of our board diversity initiative is that they have better boards. is not only that they have more diverse board. The thing that they're very focused and the reason why they are supporting this is because they've looked around what they had before and what they have now, and they think it's better, and therefore it's better for their bottom line. So have conviction that we're onto something here.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point. And the more of that to other CEOs in their network, again, another, success begets success. And I think, that's what this summit is really about, is sharing some of those success stories, that it is, achievable with the number of organizations really paying close attention, but really driving better performance through their organization, and better, and happier employees and happier clients, down the chain. And I think Lori just put one in, particularly around that point, saying that this is really about having people come and bring everything to their organization, all their different skill sets, all their different perspectives. And we all have, varying perspectives. And whether it's background, whether it's gender, whether it's race, whether it's ethnicity, religion, all different aspects of diversity. So thanks, Lori, for that. That's a great point. I'm terribly sorry that our technology created an issue for this breakout session. But I hopefully shared a lot of the points that Lori shared with us during our breakout session. And the Women in Capital and Finance Initiative holds roundtables and working groups around each of the issues that we talked about today. And I hope to invite Lori and Anilu back to have a more in-depth conversation and hear from Lori, not hearing my voice and Lori's thoughts. So I'll apologize to my panelists for the technology issues we had. We have a 2-day summit. So if 1/2 hour of 2 days is the technology glitch, I guess that's okay in these days. But I look forward to continuing this important discussion and how we can all learn from each other and really drive great growth in our economy at the end of the day. So I want to thank Lori and Anilu for participating today and sharing their wisdom, and also both of their organizations who have shown real leadership and strategic change around these. And I encourage you to look at some of their websites around these issues, because there's some pretty innovative perspectives there. So thank you both. Thank you all for attending the breakout session today. We look forward to continuing the discussion, and of course, reach out to me with any questions, and I look forward to it. Everybody have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.
Bye.